one day it's all going to go. And that's where many people become cynical, and they say, well, in fact, King Solomon, in his book Ecclesiastes, he started by saying everything's futile. There's nothing new under the sun. And for pages and pages, he talks about how he tried pleasure, and he saw that was meaningless, and he tried wisdom, and he said that got him nowhere. And he tried all these things, and it was all hevel, which means vain. In fact, it was so depressing that in the Gemara they argued, should we canonize this book or not? There was an argument amongst the sages, maybe we shouldn't canonize the book. But they decided to canonize it because of the last sentence in the book. It says that when all is said and done, King Solomon says, when all is said and done, the purpose of man is to do mitzvahs and to serve God. Because by doing so, one finds meaning in life and purpose. And that is what brings joy. Now, I like to quote Viktor Frankl, the famous psychologist who lived through the camps. He said the same thing, similar idea. People who were able to find a purpose that was more important than themselves were able to go through all types of adversity. Even when there was nothing to live for, they were able to combat their suicidal tendency because they knew that there was something they needed to contribute to the world, or even to one person out there that they cared for, that no one else could do. And they were necessary. So here's the next part. Identifying with the soul is about identifying with a cause and a purpose to life that's more important than anything else, that's you, beyond yourself. And it's so great and so important, so motivating and compelling that you become joyous as you feel yourself eventually getting to that goal. Okay, so let's go to the next slide. Material beings, spiritual beings. Okay? Okay, so we have the list of all the different things. Let's keep going. We have to move to the...
Okay, gotcha.
All right. So the analogy that's given is every mitzvah that you do unites your soul with Hashem. It's like the analogy that's given is a prince who was banished from his palace and on a mission, and after a long time he comes home, and the feeling he has of being in this quote prison, being amongst the peasants and being rolling in the dirt, all that stuff, and now he's coming home to see his beloved father in the palace, so the joy is undescribable. That's what the mitzvah does for the soul. Every time you do a mitzvah, it connects your soul to Hashem. It's just that we have to feel that. We have to somehow tap into that. Let's keep going. I will talk more about this topic in a second. Just here on the slide, we have a recap. We talked about the importance of joy, because without joy, you just can't win the battle. Eradicating guilt or shame, those are not appropriate feelings, except dissatisfaction, and only within proper times. And finally, identifying with the spiritual, which is the idea of, again, realizing that your life is not limited to one dimension, that's the physical dimension, but it's also part of a greater picture. It's part of the spiritual, and you're passing through. There's something that you're meant to do here, and you can accomplish it even when everything seems pulled away from you. And by accomplishing that goal, you feel joy. I think it's one of the most truest forms of joy. And let's take a selfish goal. When you want to lose 20 pounds. Every time you see that you've lost a pound on the scale, there's this feeling of elation, because your feeling of getting towards that goal is enough. The fact that I'm getting there is already enough to make me happy. Right? Imagine if you had a goal of your child, that you want to see your child succeed, and you see your efforts are working. That makes you even more happy, because it's not about yourself, it's about something more. Take it to another level. It's the level of transforming the world for good, to bringing godliness in this world. What does that mean, godliness? What is all that? Well, I recommend that we have another class that's talk about Mashiach and talk about Torah, and because the more you study, the more you pray, the more good you do, the more you can identify with these concepts, and you see the reasons why we do. Okay. Next slide. Okay, so this is what we were talking about, the three principles. Okay. The world has a purpose. Nothing is accidental. We are supposed to transform the world, and we play the vital role. I want to make one quick point. It says that when God created the world, He created everything before mankind. Even the angels, even the insects. And God put man last for two reasons. Because if man succeeds, God will say, look, I created the entire universe for you. It's like when you have a guest at your table. You set the table, you prepare the food, everything's laid out. Now you bring the guest in. Okay? But if mankind says, I'd rather go sin. So God says, well, who are you? You know, even a mosquito was created before you. Why do you think you're so important? In other words, everything is contingent on mankind. Why mankind? Because we are the only ones that have the freedom to choose between good and evil. Animals don't have that choice. They run an instinct, as we know. For that matter, angels don't have that choice. Angels are also pre-programmed. They only can do good. It's only mankind who can choose one or the other that has a truly meaningful existence. When we choose good in the face of the opportunity to do evil, God says, this is the good that I like. You know, it's in a relationship, if you know that your friend was challenged in the relationship somehow and overcame it, you know, was still faithful to you, you know, or spouses, you know, I know my spouse was challenged and they were still faithful to me, I see the truth, the strength of our relationship. So too, we justify the world's existence. And when we see our part in that, our role that we play in this by transforming the world, it brings us joy as we accomplish the task day in, day out. Next slide. The whole purpose of man is the purpose of creation, and the creation of the world is that he may have this abode here below.
Right.
It's our job to find godliness in creation, in every single part of creation. Specifically in the darkness is where the greatest light can be revealed. And that's why God created this whole thing. This is the concept of double joy. Okay? Number one is God's nearness. We can recognize that even here God is close to us. The more we focus and realize that God is close to us, the more joy we will have because we're not alone. Number two is, by doing these mitzvahs, we cause God great happiness. Alright, so key points. I'm sorry we have to run to the last part so fast. Alright, key points. The process of self-change can be both difficult and daunting, and without an attitude of joy and optimism, one may lose the motivation and edge one needs to continue. Okay, number two, one can feel hopeful in the face of life's challenges by reflection on the fact that everything that God does is good, though good can sometimes manifest itself in a concealed manner rather than a revealed manner. Number three, one can resolve feelings of guilt by appointing particular times to review past actions and develop a concrete plan for improvement. But unchanneled feelings of guilt are non-productive and cannot be allowed to weigh down the entire day. Last slide. For shame is utterly futile. Instead of feeling depression because of the ongoing struggle with the temptation, one should view it as an opportunity. A shift in self-concept, so that one identifies primarily with the soul rather than with the body, is the key to experiencing the joy that results whenever we do a mitzvah. When we view our fellow Jews primarily as souls and not bodies, we are able to genuinely love them as ourselves and sense that truly we are all one. That's a topic I didn't touch on, but I'll get to that in a second. Engaging in mitzvahs allows us to fulfill our life purpose of building a dwelling for God in the lower realms. It is a source of great joy that we are able to live purposefully and feel close to Him. Okay, so this one we went over. This one I want to add one more thing: is that if your joys and your happiness are built on temporary things, so then your joy will be temporary. You know, when it's about how it could be anything from the way you look to the car that you possess, whatever it is. If it's dependent on those things, you'll be up and down. A lot of people feel joy about impressing others. So in the morning, they feel one way. The next, you can't impress everybody and make everybody happy. So you're feeling, on this roller coaster all day long because you don't have that sense of self. Right? That's a very common experience for people. So if we can just rise above all that and feel a sense of that my joy is not built on anything else other than serving Hashem. And what's the floor that we walk on?